Hey guys, welcome back to the Record Room on what will be the first episode of a brand new section here on the channel, a brand new series called the Essential Selection. Now, the idea behind this is to introduce people to new artists, new genres, groups, duos, that kind of a thing. A starter guide, if you will, on a certain act or genre. And I'm going to pick 5 albums each time, or 5 records, that I would recommend to somebody that's brand new, has never heard this group, act, genre before. And there are 5 records that I would recommend. Now, these aren't necessarily my top 5, my own personal top 5, but they are the top 5 that I would recommend. So before I get everybody jumping off in the comments, these are not necessarily the 5 greatest albums by said act or genre. This is just 5 records that I think would be a good introduction to that act, genre, group, duo, whatever. So with all of that out of the way, if those of you out there saw our short earlier on this week, you'll know that the first band we're going to talk about today is Iron Maiden. And this is a band that I feel fairly confident in being able to talk about, especially when it comes to recommending 5 albums. Now, as I said, these aren't my 5 personal top favourite albums, and I've crept the criteria on this one from the first 2 Paul Di'Anno records up until when Bruce left. So from Iron Maiden up into Fear of the Dark. You know, the Blaze Bayley albums, they are what they are. They are fine heavy metal albums. Are they great Iron Maiden albums? I don't know, but they're okay. They're okay. Man on the Edge is a pretty good single, you know, from X Factor. Virtual 11, I genuinely cannot remember what the single from that was called. So do remind me in the comments if you are a fan of the Blaze Bayley era. And who knows, I may actually do a follow-up to this where I talk about the second time that Bruce was in the band, because I love a lot of the more modern Maiden stuff. I really do. Brave New World, I think, is a fantastic album, and I think Wicker Man is one of the finest Maiden songs that they've ever produced. So I am a fan of all eras of Iron Maiden, but I thought I would stick to the classic period of Iron Maiden, and I'm going to kick things off with number 5, going all the way up to number 1 on my top recommendations, things that I would recommend to a newbie to get them into the act, genre, collective. You get the gist. So it's kicking off at number 5, and I debated on this one actually, where to start, and I went back and forth over the 2 Paul Di'Anno albums, but in the end I went with Killers. The first album is fantastic. The Iron Maiden debut is an absolutely killer album, but on Killers, pardon the pun, there was just, I don't know, the band had they tasted a little bit of success on an international level, on a worldwide level. And I think some of these songs are just better than songs on the first album. Wrathchild, for instance, is such a killer song, that opening bass groove. And then Murders in the Rue Morgue, just absolutely brilliant. You know, I'm trying to be as impartial about this as possible, but as a young metal fan, I remember having a cassette of this that I would just listen to over and over again because it was one of the only metal cassettes I had. And also, I mean, it's just absolutely so brilliant. And as you can see, I don't know if you can see down there, there's a picture of the Ruskin Arms, which was very famous in the Iron Maiden history. And I actually used to work a block away from the Ruskin Arms. So I used to walk past it every day. And the pressing I have here, I believe this is, I think this is an American pressing. One that I got from a good friend of mine a long time ago when he was making some upgrades to his Maiden collection. So he donated some of his earlier Maiden albums to me. I have all of these on CD because I was buying CDs at the time. But that's how I built up my Maiden collection. So for number 5, I would start off with the Killers album, just because you need some Paul Di'Anno in there. He's an amazing vocalist, or I should say he was an amazing vocalist. R.I.P. Mr. Di'Anno, we recently lost him. And the songs on this album, even when they're sung by Bruce, they sound fantastic. It's the testament to great songwriting. And I think the Killers album just has a lot to offer. It really does, especially given the time. What is it, 1981? I mean, come on now. Come on, that's over 40 years ago. It's just absolutely incredible. And coming in at number 4 is the Peace of Mind album, which this album again is just, I mean, you'll see here, my copies of these albums are not pristine mint copies because they've been played and they've been loved. And that's what I love about these old metal records. These have been worshipped. Someone worshipped this record before it came to me, and I am all for that. But I do have, this is an original pressing with the original inner sleeve. I love this picture of the band there, sat down to eat, and there's a giant brain in the corner ready to be served for dinner, which is very cool. And the artwork on this, I mean, did they ever get their artwork wrong? Have Maiden ever got their artwork wrong? No, I don't think so. And this is such a great album. Where Eagles Dare, Flight of Icarus, The Trooper. I mean, just thinking about The Trooper now just has me feeling all warm and fuzzy. It's such an amazing song, you know, as a metal song or a rock song, whatever you want to call it. And this one has some great center labels as well here, which actually has some brain on it. And again, this one here is a Capitol Records pressing. So this is a US pressing of this. The band were on Capitol in the US and obviously EMI in the UK. Peace of Mind is such a great album. It's such a killer album, and still today you can throw on, in fact, you can throw on any of these Iron Maiden albums at any point and you'll get something from them. You really will. It's not like, Iron Maiden are kind of timeless when it comes to like the pantheon of rock music because they've never really changed. So they've always been amazing. And then that's one of the things I love about Maiden. When I throw on a new Maiden record, I know exactly what I'm going to get. I'm going to get something epic, something catchy, some killer riffs. Bruce's voice is going to sound amazing. There's just so many great things about Iron Maiden, which is why I chose them to be the first episode of the Essential Selection. And now we've got number 3, and it's actually the album I am wearing the shirt of. And this album, mainly the song Number of the Beast, this was my first introduction to Iron Maiden. So this one came out, when was this, 83, something like that, 83, what is there a date on this, 82 it says here. So I would have been 4, 5 when this album came out, or when I first heard the song Number of the Beast. As a child, I was genuinely terrified by everything heavy, but I loved the intro on this song. And you know, I'm not going to recite it now, but it's ingrained in me so much that I can never ever forget the song Number of the Beast. But so many great songs on this one album. The Prisoner, probably top 5 Maiden songs of all time. Number of the Beast is obviously great. Run to the Hills, which is just amazing. And then Hallowed Be Thy Name to end an album. Like, bands don't end albums the same way Maiden did. I mean, just for a start, look at that artwork. Imagine walking into a record store in 82 and seeing this. It must have been absolutely mind-blowing. If I've got some older Maiden fans out there watching this video, and I think I have, what are your recollections of this album when it first came out? Are they as amazing as I picture them in my head? I'm sure they were. And there we go. There's one side, and then this killer picture of Eddie on the other side there. So unbelievably cool. And that's number 3 on my list of Iron Maiden recommendations. And please let me remind you, these are not my personal top 5 Maiden albums. And I know there's going to be some probably clashing in the comments of 5 albums that you'd recommend, but that's okay. Everyone is allowed to be different. These are my 5 recommendations to somebody who's not necessarily an Iron Maiden fan, but wants to know more about the group. And coming in at number... Oh, wait, no, we're doing this in the backwards order. I'm doing this wrong. So 5, 343. Coming in at number 2, it's Powerslave, which we recently spoke about on this channel, the album that is celebrating its 40th anniversary this year. This album is just next level. I think this is the album where Maiden really went next level for me. In terms of songs, song structure, everything about the band. Aces High, 2 Minutes to Midnight, Flash of the Bade, that's all on one side. And then you have Back in the Village, Powerslave, and then Rime of the Ancient Mariner, which, I mean, I spoke at length about how great this album is back on our Powerslave 40th anniversary episode, which I will link below so you can check it out. But again, I have I believe this is a Canadian copy of the album. Again, this one was donated to me. Maybe I should start actually investing in UK originals to do a little bit of a sound comparison. Maybe that's something I could do for future episodes. All I know is these albums, they sound great. I've had these albums, these versions for well over a decade. And I've never thought to myself, oh, if only I had a different copy that sounded a different way. No, these albums have and do sound absolutely amazing. There we go. Iron Maiden's Powerslave. So there you go. That's number 2 on my recommendations list. So we have Killers coming in at number 5. We have Peace of Mind coming in at number 4. Number of the Beast coming in at number 3. Powerslave at number 2, which means, ladies and gentlemen, there's one left. And what could that album possibly be? There are still so many great Maiden albums out there that I could possibly talk about, but the album that I would recommend to everybody, hands down, is Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. This album has some of the catchiest hooks in any rock, metal, whatever you want to call it. This album is just full of absolute bangers, and that's why I would recommend this. And the version I have here, I believe this is the reissue from, I don't know when this was, 2014. This is actually a 2014 reissue, so I may actually invest in a real copy of this because I'm sure an original will sound better. But this is actually really nicely done, and I have no issue playing this whatsoever. It's such a great album, sounds good. Can I Play With Madness? I remember seeing this on British TV show Top of the Pops and just being absolutely blown away. I saw a clip of the video and was like, what on earth is that? Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, The Evil That Men Do, lives on and on. What a great song. The Clairvoyant, and Only the Good Die Young as well. So many great songs. I mean, we all know how great Steve Harris is, right? But do we really know how great Steve Harris is? I mean, one man, so many incredible songs. And this artwork is absolutely fantastic as well. Another absolute killer Maiden classic. And I'll show you the disc as well. And this being the reissue, it's nice and thick. This might even be 180 gram. It does feel quite thick. I don't know why I only bought one of, probably the reason I only bought one of these is because I had everything else and didn't feel the need to add reissues of albums I had original copies for. But maybe English versions are what I should be tracking down. But there you go, the first episode of the Essential Selection. What did you think? Do you agree with my selections? Would you recommend any of these albums to newbies yourself? People that want to learn more about Maiden, but they don't really know where to start. Maiden have been around for 40 plus years. They've released so many albums, different periods, different singers. It can be a daunting task, and hopefully this video will steer some people on the right path. I recently compiled a Maiden playlist that I've just been rinsing and literally going through most of their catalogue to put this episode together. So I do hope you enjoyed it. Maybe you should leave me a comment below and let me know what you think. And if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. We are so close to 1,000 subscribers, and that would be a cool landmark to hit. Anyway, until next time, I hope you have enjoyed this episode, but stay gold and spin those blackest circles.